Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call. This is Jared. For Saturday, July 5th, 2025, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. When we speak words, whether you're speaking words with yourself, others, we all know, well, I wouldn't say that we all know, that we're consciously aware that the words that we speak send frequencies out. Depends on the emotion that you put behind the words, what your belief factor is, your perception. Still the same, you're affecting everything around you, no matter where you are. Most of us aren't in tune with that. I don't believe that most of us believe that that is what actually occurs. And why is that? It's because we don't know who and what we are. The arrows always point back to us not knowing who and what we are. Conflict, anger, fear, those things are all positive from the perspective of that we have to know the difference. That's why we create that. We create that opposite, right? The yin and the yang. So that we gods, we learn through physical material form, we learn the difference between hot and cold, hate, love, joy, bliss, depression, dissatisfaction. And this is the main reason that we have these comparisons, so that we can differentiate in the material physical world, the difference between stealing and giving, all of it. And I believe that all of us, I believe for the most part, not totally, that we know the difference. Some of us know the difference, but we still do it. You know what I mean? Some of us know the difference between stealing and giving, but we still steal. So we're consciously carrying out this energetic action. Now, when you focus on hate, irritation, anger, revenge, frustration, you become twisted. Others don't. Believe it or not, you become twisted. So it's almost like you're sitting there with a baseball bat hitting yourself in the head. Blood's starting to come out and everything. And the more angry you get, the more harder you hit yourself. And it's very difficult for people to let that sink in for themselves, to really comprehend that what I'm doing to so-and-so, I am really doing to myself. Because why is that? Because we're all one. We're not separate. That's the point. We're all one. So what you're doing out there, you're doing to yourself. It doesn't mean that you realize it. Many don't. They think that's just a bunch of poppycock. Oh, no, that's all made up. That's for you spiritual nuts, right? That doing to others as you would do unto yourself. That's more apparent today. More and more of us are discovering that we take a breath and we step back to look at it from a perspective of not judging, not critiquing and analyzing, but learning, viewing. As watchers and observers, that's what we do. We don't get involved with it. We've been involved with it, let's put it that way. We know not to do it again. We don't care to. So it's like, if you get angry or irritated or frustrated with somebody within yourself, you literally go into mantras of love, 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 love. You just let it, and it just melts it off, eliminates it. The biggest conflict that any of us have is with ourselves. That's the number one conflict in our life, the conflict with ourselves. Well, what is that about? Well, again, it goes back to how we were trained, programmed, manipulated, and twisted by the information we were given. That's crucial because that's what's happened to the civilization. It's been manipulated, brain-wise. A lot of us, well, I'll say, those that are aware, would say, I'm not going to take that. You tell me what's in it, and then I'll make the determination for myself if I'm going to put that in my body. That's how it should be for everybody, without fear of retaliation from that evil. Right? You can still be respectful, and you can still be in gratitude for yourself, but you don't succumb to the intimidation and the illusion. The illusion is fear. The fear is an illusion. False evidence appearing real. That's basically, but we need fear to become courageous. Isn't that interesting? So each feeling, because fear is a feeling, courage is a feeling, love is a feeling in these bodies. We feel. That's how we are able to identify certain feelings. A lot of us are afraid of our own feelings, so we try to separate them and push them away and bury them. Because we're not going to have to deal with that. Instead of embracing them and forgiving yourself for whatever it is you feel you need to be forgiven. You forgive. You. You know, it's like, it's interesting in the religions, right? Like in the Catholic religion, you go in to a little booth. I always called it a phone booth because it reminded me of a phone booth. And you kneel down on a padded step, and there's this, you'll hear the door open so that the priest can hear you confess your sins. You don't have any idea who this priest is. You've never talked with this priest. You have no clue who it is. And so you bare your all to this priest. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been so many days, weeks, months since my last confession. And that's basically what you say. Okay? And then the priest will hear the confession, a passing judgment, basically, hear the confession, and then tell you for your penance, you say 14 Hail Marys, 5 Our Fathers, and Apostles' Creed, which they'll throw in there. And so you do that, and you feel better. It's really funny. You leave there, and you feel like you've been exonerated and cleansed and everything, and you can go out and usually commit more sins in the church's eyes. In actuality, sin means, the only thing that sin means, you begin to see, we must choose to comprehend what has transpired in order to undo it. How can we undo anything if we don't have the knowledge about what it is that we wish to undo? You can't. So it stays and it's passed down through generation after generation. It's about us wanting to, right, to learn about what it is, learn about it, and then we can undo it. And what is that? It's the programming that we have received. And you forgive you. You want to pray? Pray to the God that you are within you. You can't get any closer than that. All right? When in doubt, look up. That's crap too. You basically, if you have any doubts or fears or worries or stresses, you go into this meditation and you focus on the God that you are. And you're in silence where the God is. And what does that mean? Well, it means you're going to get your answer, usually in a deep feeling. You're always going to get your answer. And then you got the universe, your bestest friend ever, by your side. I mean, it's unreal what we have been given. We just, now imagine if we were programmed and educated on the spiritual end, and so the children all knew who and what they are. Okay? They knew about these things. And that's where we must begin there with the children, because if we don't if we don't do that with the children, and first we've got to know with ourselves, because then it's just, again, a repetitive blind leading the blind on this planet. And then repetitiveness of repeating things over and over again. That's why we repeat wars. Generations pass, and then we have another war. What's the missing link there? Well, the information wasn't given correctly, and I'm putting it in a nice way, to the next generation. It wasn't passed on. So how was the next generation? How are they going to know? They aren't. They're going to wing it, like the generation before them and before them. So it's for us. That's why you'll hear me say over and over again through the years, it's all about you. It's all about you. Everything is about you. And the reason that is that you undo the things that have been programmed into you. Because you begin to discover that they aren't your gig. They're just not something that you enjoy doing, that you even acting out. Influence from mom, dad, brothers, sisters, friends, relatives, strangers. A lot of it you just don't like. You don't care for it. So you begin to clean out the closets of your mind. And you face off with these things. Embrace them, invite them in, and you figure out what the heck is it that I was so fearful of this particular whatever it may be for so long. Why have I been so afraid or fearful of this for so long? See, we live in a yesterday and tomorrow world controlled by an illusion called the ego mind. The ego mind is created by the gods that we inherit when we come into these bodies. We develop the ego mind. We then are mastered and controlled by the ego mind. And why is that? Because we don't know. It's not complicated. Makes sense. We don't know. How in the heck are we supposed to know? We don't. None of us do. We come into these bodies and we have no memory of anything, and so we start from scratch every single time, so to speak. And this is where we can break the cycle with mom and dad and the children. Or you've got 5 moms and 5 dads. In other words, you no longer have the family. You know, we progress beyond the family. We move into community. I'm not talking about the one child has 5 different fathers. Literally, I talk about figuratively. The interaction is massive because these are all spiritual beings. We all are spiritual beings, but these are self-discovery of spiritual beingness. And you share that with the children. So you have a mom and dad, and they have a child, and the child is able to interface with lots of men and women who are all spiritual beings. Huge, huge. That's the way that this civilization will turn the corner and change directions as far as self-annihilation. And then we become much more sensitive to our surroundings, because the surroundings are all energetic frequencies put together in a form that we view as separate. And we begin to learn that we are not separate from anything, that it's all one big ball of energy. And the energies are taking on different forms. If a tree didn't have energy, really it was totally dead, it'd be very difficult to burn it. It really would. You would have to soak it in some kind of a fluid in order to get it to combust. I'm talking about totally inert, dead tree. Still burn it. Why? Well, because the fire that you have is the energy to burn it. I know that sounds strange. Normally, the wood gives off the energy to combust, to create the flame. But you can create a flame, and that energy transfers to this inert wood, and you're able to burn it. Now, if you took petrified wood, you would not be able to burn it no matter what you did. It's fossilized. It's basically like stone. rock. Okay? Could you burn a rock? Well, if you use enough high temperature, you could melt it. What do you think the magma is beneath our feet? It's melted rock. That's what it is. It's liquid rock. Liquid rock. So when we look at these things, like childlike curiosity is where it gets us to, where we aren't satisfied with the surface anymore. We're becoming more and more aware and curious about what's underneath the surface. Okay, and we do that on our own. We discover that on our own. Not being cynical or distrusting of oneself, but it's saying, that's good. I know, I see the surface, but now I want to see what's underneath the surface. And since we're all curious beings, that's pretty much the norm, the healthy way that we want to discover, and we want to know all sides to things. One side's great, right? You get this information, and then there's another side to it, and you want to know that other side, see? It's like you get a lot of money, but that's one side. That's great. That's wonderful. But then you have the other side where you go, well, I got to manage it. I got to take care of it. I got to protect it. I got to be a certain way so I'm not attracting people that want to take it. See, that's the other side of that coin. Looking at both sides is a phenomenal power when you're not afraid of the other side. You go, I want to know the other side. I want to know any ramifications that may take place or anything that might transpire on the other side of this coin. I know the front side. Wow, look at all this money I have. What am I going to do? And how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? But there's still positive on the other side as well. It's all, and what does it boil down to? It boils down to how we perceive it. How every single one of us, whatever formula that we have immersed ourselves in this life from time to time, it's up to us to differentiate, to determine, okay, so yeah, I could do this. I can do this and do this. Because plus we're learning about something that we have never been really exposed to. And what does community do? It moves us together. Community moves us together. When we're doing things together, we build a bridge together. We clean a lake together. We do things together. And we enjoy it. And from spiritual responsiveness, we're not judging each other. We're not judging ourselves. We're not critiquing, analyzing, and we're not trying to outdo each other. We work in a form of fluidity together to create. It's what we do. Super powerful. But because of the teachings on this planet for so very long and the twisting and the confusing, we don't know. We're usually afraid of ourselves and others. We're afraid of relations, intimate relations. We have fear of that. We have fear of sexual intercourse. We have fear of orgasm. We have fear of all these things, but we don't know it. We don't know it. Instead of saying, why do I feel the way I do? You ever ask it? We should be asking ourselves that all the time. And I'm not talking about judging ourselves. I'm talking about getting to the truth. Identifying what it is with us that we're so unresponsive to certain things and we want to hide and we fear. And remember, fear is an illusion. It really is. And it's brought upon through the ego mind. And see, as we learn these things, we learn them, then we know. Ego mind's an illusion. Right? Ego mind's insecure. Ego mind's never satisfied. Ego mind really isn't happy a lot. You know, it always wants more. It's never content. It's never at peace, but it's always seeking peace out there. It believes peace is out there. It doesn't know that it's part of the God source. Doesn't know it. So it believes that it's got to seek whatever it's seeking out there. And this is why we have such a miscombobulated mess with this civilization. And it's a motivating factor for us to come to the conclusion is that it's time for me to learn about who and what I am. Not religion, not learn about religion. A lot have been sidetracked with religion. Having somebody you don't know sit on a high and mighty place, passing guidance for you, when they themselves have many issues that they ignore. It's just like the blind leading the blind. So what do you do? What is it? What's the primer? Primer is something that's introduced to a event or something that will spark everything coming together and happening. That's a primer. So what's the primer for us to discover ourselves, who and what we are? It's programming ourselves. It's embracing the responsibility and the opportunity to reprogram ourselves. We go to bed at night, we start programming ourselves. Because just about everything that you have been told is not true. Really isn't. So once you embrace that without anger, okay, oh, look at all those people did this to me. They didn't know any better because that same thing happened to them. So the best thing to do to start off is forgive them all. And then you say, okay, every night, every morning, I'm going to program me with the deep eternal love that I am, with the God that I am within this body. And then you begin to realize that you're not the body, you're not the name, you're not your belongings, and everything is temporary. The only thing that's not temporary is the God within the soul within that body. You, that's what you are. This is how we begin to program ourselves. And we embrace it. And we know that we're reprogramming ourselves, and we also are aware, pretty much to a certain extent, that all the stuff that we have been told when we were babies, growing up, and all the things that, and have you ever done this? You were told by someone that when you were growing up, you were told something that you thought they were, a powerful being, and you thought whatever they said that came out of their mouth was right, was the truth. You followed it. Have you ever done it where you did that, right? We've all done that. And later in your life, you come across something that challenges that, and you find out that it was all untrue. It wasn't like you were seeking it out. It just happened. The universe sends this in. You experience something, and you go, wow, what they told me was absolutely wrong. Wasn't true at all. And I go through this whole life, and this is what I've been following with this, and then I find out on my own through this experience that it wasn't true. But then, instead of, a lot of people get angry at that. But instead of getting angry, you step back and say, hey, they were told it by someone else who told by someone else who told by someone else. This is why we're in what you would call a catch-22 or a circle jerk as a civilization. This is why. This is why we're in this circle jerk. We never seem to be able to move out of it. You notice that? Yeah, in the fringes, we start seeing, experiencing some things. And a few hundred years later, we're back in it. Now, when you embrace the awareness that you are not these things, that the body was created by the gods or the collective consciousness to experience physical material life, which is God in physical material form. Really good. It's pretty cool. And so when we do that, we start to identify certain things. We do identify with stuff. We don't identify, some people identify with this over here, you identify with that over there, so on and so forth. But we know that, okay, we look at it that, okay, we're babes in the woods when we're born. We usually don't have much of a memory of past lives. And it eventually fades out by the time we're 5, 6, or 7. So we're winging it at that point. So we rely on what? Programming. We rely on parents and whoever is raising us. We rely on them to tell us things, direct us. We go through stages where we're combative and we think we know a lot even though we're young children and that the adults don't know anything. And then when we become adults, we end up having children, and then the children do the same thing that we did with our parents. And we reflect on that. And then we look at the children and we say, and they're doing the same thing I did with my folks. And the reason that is because of the fact we do not know who and what we are. And as long as we do not know who and what we are, we will continue, those that don't, will continue in this catch-22 and keep reincarnating until finally they eventually find out and discover who and what they really are. Now, there's those of us who are aware on this planet at this time that will move to 5D because we know what that's about. We know that we increase our vibrational frequency to a deep eternal love, awareness for oneself and the God that we are within the body, and we move into heart-mind permanently. And then we use the heart-mind to master the ego-mind. And then eventually the ego-mind finds peace. It begins to follow you, your heart-mind. And it finds peace. And then it just kind of kicks back, sits in the background, and you use it to help in certain ways, okay? And then eventually it fades right out. Same with your thoughts. Then you're able to watch and view your thoughts collectively, and then you know how to send those thoughts to the universe. And what happens to the chatter, the mind chatter? That noise that we all have, which is the subconscious mind playing back over 60,000 thoughts every single day. Over and over and over again. That's not there. Doesn't exist. So we kind of graduate ourselves out of that by discovering it. Without anger, without revenge or any kind of that ego mind stuff, is simply put, with ecstasy, happiness, and joy that we discover that. And we move into heart-mindedness, and we know how to manifest. And we know that we don't have to work our fingers to the bone. We don't have to kill ourselves to earn the right to live on this planet. The right to life is God. And nothing's going to buck God because everything is God. I mean, I've seen people try to eat their own arms off. Crazy stuff. They're devouring themselves. It's like when we fight each other, we're fighting ourselves. Different versions. We get angry with ourselves, we're angry at everything. You ever notice that? You could come by some regular, just easygoing being, and you happen to be irritated and upset, and so guess what? You target them. They say something to you, boom, there's the barking starts. You know why dogs bark at people? Take a guess. Not all dogs, but because they get trained and then they start realizing it's a waste of energy. But you know why dogs bark at people? Because they fear the people. That's why they bark at them. Now, when they stop fearing the people, they don't have any interest in barking at them. That's the way it is in this life. We bark at others because we fear them. We bark at things because we fear them. We fear those things. Now, it doesn't mean we connect with that. But a lot of the times we get angry with stuff because we fear it. Or we don't comprehend it. So isn't it quite interesting that, you know, a lot of animals teach us a lot of different things, but we don't really acknowledge it. We just kind of look and go, oh, right. It's like in this meditation, when you find a comfortable place, you have no outside distraction, you're as still as a statue, you're relaxed into your body, and you're focused on the naturalness of your breath rising and falling. Where does this put you? It puts you in the now. It puts you in the heart-mind. Right? It puts you in the room where your God is. And that is complete silence. Complete silence. How many of us spend time in silence and really enjoy it? Join in meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still, relaxed into your body, focused on your breath rising and falling. Really, really, really relax today. Breathe in the affirmation, I am safe, I am loved, and all is well in my world. Let these words sink deep into your body. Stay alert, yet in the flow. Allow any calming energy to grow and spread throughout your body. The easiness of being absorbs each thought that arises in the mind. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night, the following morning. We will return here Sunday, July 6th, 2025, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest deepest, purest of the purest purest. Eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's happening within you or outside of you. Open your heart and allow the magic to flow in.